unique experience of being vegan? Huh?
How do y'all know each other?
I met Bill when Young played in Orange County, California. He came to the show. I remember he bought a book. It was Young and Sect, which is me and Scott from Sect. Scott from Sect is also in the Earth Crisis, and I'm a fan of Scott. So Young was touring with Sect, and right? That's when we met, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I bought your book, and I was like, fuck yes.
All right, there you go. Yeah. So that's when we met, and then he put out his book, and we've been in touch ever since. He just said, we need to do an event. So here we are. You got to see it.
I probably said it in that voice too.
Yeah, so who all has read either version of my book? You actually read it? Oh, okay. You?
Read the first time.
You read the first one? Anybody read the new one? Okay, okay. What's that? Okay, good. Yeah, so, the interesting thing is like what Bill's talking about is when he was feeling foggy in the service, it wasn't a vegan food issue, it's a calorie issue.
Yeah.
That is the first thing that we got to make sure we cover if we want to achieve any kind of goal or live any kind of lifestyle. So, the amount of calories you need if you're going to have a desk job and not work out is very different than the amount of calories you're going to need if you're going to be a marathon runner or a CrossFit person or a strongman or a powerlifter. Not only that, once you break it down on that, the kind of macro balance you need for each of those kind of lifestyles is going to be different. The less strength and muscle oriented you are, is the more carbohydrate and high fiber kind of diet, whole foods kind of diet you can get away with. The more you lean towards wanting to be a strong maniac that actually scares people, the amount of weight you throw around, it makes your mother cringe and tell you need to stop doing that because you're going to hurt yourself even though I haven't yet. That's the more you need to focus on protein. And this isn't just a vegan issue. It's, all these studies published in the National Institute of Health will say strength athletes, they need to eat about 3 times more protein than the average person. And that can often equate to more than double the amount of someone who does cross-training, is more endurance athlete oriented. So those are things I want to talk about. We'll talk about briefly, but we're going to do prizes first because in case anybody has to go, I don't want you to be wondering whether you want it or not. And I certainly don't want to mail you this. So what we're going to do is I'm not going to pick these. You guys are going to have to pick them. We'll start with Flint. He's going to, now, you can't look. You can't look. Now, the first prize we're going to do is vegan omega-3s. Fish oil is a hoax. Fish get their omega fatty acids from algae. So, there's a company based out of Indiana. It's owned by a vegan guy. So he's made a good effort to get as many vegan products in their line of supplements as possible. It's by a company called Self-Evolve. So these are algae omegas. This is about a $35, $40 value. And the winner is Courtney W. All right. Yeah, so Self-Evolve and Elevate Nutrition were happy to sponsor this event and have been supportive of me. Yes, they send me free stuff sometimes, and it's nice. So one reason I would suggest you eat a high protein diet with heavy weights is sometimes people give you free protein. So let's see. Next, we're going to do the Skittles Rainbow Candy Flavor BCAA pre-workout by Elevate Nutrition. Again, this is another $35, $40 value. Haley's going to pick. Can't look. Can't look. Who got it?
Flint.
Flint. All right. Yeah. All right. And you've been working with a trainer, right? All right. You put that to use. Let's see. Hold on. Okay, this actually has beta-alanine in it. You're gonna get a little tingle. Oh. Yeah, don't desensitize your adrenal glands by taking too much of that.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Take off the swab.
Just take a base amount. And when you stop feeling the tingle, so pre-workouts can be a weird thing. Sometimes you might think they help. Sometimes you'll be like, I don't know if they help.
So put your obeying a day my precondition.
I wouldn't do it at the same time.
Yeah.
Like that, like half an hour before you work out, do the bang in the morning. Are you drinking coffee too? Okay, alright, well, you'll be okay. You'll be okay. Alright. So the next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna give away this pair of, let's see, this is Fruit Punch pre-workout by Elevate Nutrition, and a 2-pound chocolate brownie protein. This is one of my favorite ones. So we're gonna do this one next. Who wants to? Would you want to do it? All right. What's your name? All right. I didn't tell you that you can't pick your own.
Luis Flores?
Luis. All right.
Yeah.
All right, Luis.
Working out.
Time to start fucking up the weights. All right. Now, so if you get my book, there's various meal plans for different body types. They're all the meal plans are the way I have eaten for the last since 2014 when I decided I was going to start competing in powerlifting in 2015. And yes, all the medals on the table I've won since 2015. In fact, most of them I can't remember the last competition that I didn't win a medal in.
Wow.
Not bragging. I'm just saying I can't. I just keep winning. But this protein right here is the main one that I based my meal plan off of. So this Fusion 4, it used to actually be called Nitro Fusion, and it's a formula that was made for bulk by the Plant Fusion company. So if you go to Whole Foods or Sprouts, Plant Fusion is a really common one, but they sell like the little 1-pound things for $40. They sell these online for $75. It's 5 pounds, so it's one of the best deals that you can get for buying vegan protein. And the composition is about the same as whey in terms of how you're going to absorb the protein, but it's not going to fuck your stomach up like whey does for a lot of people. Because if you go into GNC or Vitamin Shop now, whereas 10, 15 years ago, if you go in there looking for protein, they would be like, oh, you're looking for vegan stuff? It's down in the corner over there. There's like 3 of them, and those are gross, right? Now you walk in, it's usually like the first wall. It's a ton of them, and they go, yeah, these things they're more popular than ever. And it's not just vegans driving the demand for this. It's those omnivores to whatever extent who are just finding that whey and those kinds of proteins have been upsetting their stomach, and when they try the plant-based stuff, they feel a little better. So I'm really glad that Self-Evolve, what happened was Plant Fusion discontinued the Nitro Fusion blend for whatever reason, and Self-Evolve was like, oh man, that was a good formula, and now people can't get it, so they bought the rights to distribute this in 5-pound tubs, and I'm glad they are. So you might have to, if you're interested in this product, you would have to get on like Amazon or the Self-Evolve site in order to direct from them, but it's still one of the best deals you find out there, and I appreciate them for doing that. So this is about $75 value, so if you bought a book, you're getting a real good deal on this. Who wants to pick this one? Rachel, how do you feel? Handle it?
Okay. Lint.
Get out.
Everybody jump Flint. Bring it inside All right, Flint. Hey, I'm going to check up on you. All right, it's your time. It's your time. You and Luis, you better get together. Get some new PR. All right. So, is anybody pressed for time? I don't want to keep you here all night. I don't plan to talk too long, but we'll visit some. I'm going to do something really special for y'all. I gave you a free stuff, and I'm going to actually read from the book a little bit. I've never done that before. But what we're going to do is, I always like to say the disclaimer, because I'm not a nutritionist. I'm a vegan meathead. You probably shouldn't listen to me, except for the fact that I win. So anyway, but this is a disclaimer, just so go on the record that if you do what I'm proposing and anything happens to you, it's your fault. The advice given in this book is primarily based on personal experience. It's not intended to diagnose or treat any specific condition or illness. It's not a work of nutritional science, research, or peer-reviewed data. I'm a vegan who is obsessed with lifting weights and eating more protein than most meat eaters. This is simply what has worked for me over the course of years, and it very well may not work for you at all, but hey, it's worth a shot, right? And I'm only writing all this so many of you ask me for advice all the time. Try these recommendations at your own risk, and in the case of any complications, please seek help from a medical professional or nutritional expert. But whatever you do, do not give up on veganism, because that would be some weak ass shit.
Right.
All right. So I actually started being vegan 2005. It was an ethical decision. I had been vegetarian, pescatarian for about 7 years, and I was on tour with my bands, and I was hanging out with some vegans in California, and one of the speeches they gave in their set was talking about veal calves and the veal calves being taken away from their mothers and the way the mother cows cry and breaking up that emotional bond between the mother and the child. It got to me, and after hanging out with those people who I really liked, I thought these guys are all right, you know. I thought I should finally cut the dairy and the eggs out of my diet. And what happened to me that year was, one thing was a happy accident that I would say was a benefit, because as a vocalist in a band, eating a bunch of dairy, because when I went vegetarian, my dad said, if you're not gonna eat meat, you gotta eat more dairy. Well, that made me have sinus infections every 3 or 4 months for a good 7 years. And I had no idea what was wrong and why I had to go get on antibiotics all the time. But taking antibiotics all the time wrecks your gut biome and your immunity. And then you're just dependent on getting more medicine. And so I was going and taking antibiotics every few months, and I was a sick vegetarian. But after about 10 months of being vegan, I realized I'm not getting sinus infections anymore, and my voice is holding up better on stage, on tour. So that was kind of a happy accident. But the thing that wasn't a happy accident was my body composition did change. I got what you call skinny fat. I probably weighed about 140 pounds as a vegetarian. I went down to 135 as a vegan, and I was wondering, like, this doesn't feel good. I was only 23 years old, so I thought, I shouldn't be getting this flabby. But what I found out later when I got into the fitness world and trying to be something at it was that the composition of our foods really matters if you have specific goals. Especially for dudes. If you don't eat enough fat, like when you take the cheese off cheese pizza, the fat is more than double the calories of carbohydrates. Not one, you might take your hormones because you're not getting enough calories anymore. You're just eating carbohydrates, which is 4 calories per gram versus 9 calories per gram with fat. So, eating higher fat, if you're going to be athletic, is an easier way to get more calories with having to chew less. Because who gets bored of chewing all the time? If you're vegan, you're already going to be getting mostly higher fiber in almost everything you eat, which is going to cause another problem. You're going to have to go to the bathroom a lot more. And that gets to be a little antisocial at some points. So I learned that I needed to replace the fat in my diet to get better at training. But that helps, and again for dudes, we derive, our livers will help make our own natural cholesterol, which we then make testosterone from, which is what we have to maintain to build muscle and to recover from our workouts. So when whole foods plant-based people say plants are all you need and a high carbohydrate diet is all you need, well, yes, unless you're trying to be a strength athlete. Then you do need to eat more fat, and like I said, as backed by all those studies about how much protein strength athletes eat, you're going to need to eat about 3 times more protein than a normal person. And people are going to tell you, you're insane, you're a freak, why are you doing that? Well, I'm doing it for the gains, bro. That's the only way. It's really the only way, because I spent years sucking at trying to transform my body and my performance. And really, that old adage, the bro science adage of what you eat is 80% of your results is true. It wasn't until I changed my diet that my performance changed. So if you're going to be focusing on strength, what I advise in this book and what I've done to win these medals and perform as a vegan athlete over the years is increase my fat, increase my protein. And some would say eating under 50% of your calories from carbohydrates is a low carbohydrate diet, but I've been eating roughly 30% of my total calories from carbohydrates for 8 years now, and I'm not a low energy person. And as a vegan, especially with as much as I eat, I'm not gonna tell you too much about my bowel movements, but it's not, I'm not in there all the time. It's nice, I can have a life, you know? So, but the year that I tried to start bulking and I was eating rice and beans all the time, people would be like, where's Danny? And then they hear a commode flush. So, you know, you gotta find the balance. So that's one of my messages is don't be afraid of fat, don't be a fatophobe. Don't be afraid of high protein, especially when you're talking about, you know, these are proteins derived from plants. Most of the soy that you could eat as a vegan is going to come from organic non-GMO soy, like Tofurky, Proteins. Like, these are companies that are committed to non-GMO soy. And we can even make the argument that GMO soy might not be that bad for you if you eat in moderation. We've all got different food sensitivities. Some people are allergic to gluten, but you know, it's like less than 6% that would eat, of all of us in the Western population, they're going to be allergic to gluten at all, even have a mild sensitivity. So I think there's a lot of hysteria about food sensitivities and allergies. So again, I would say you've got to experiment. You know, some people do have a soy intolerance. More than 99% of people in the world don't. So there's a lot of boogeyman about the kinds of plant proteins we can eat, but from my anecdotal experience, you know, getting my blood work done when I got a new insurance policy in January, my provider was like, hey, this is some of the best blood work I've ever seen in this office. And I go, now's the time to come out of the vegan closet. I've been vegan 17 years. And she was like, what? So, yeah, you know, and so I'm not going to say, again, that this works for everybody. It's totally healthy for everybody. You might have certain sensitivities to certain things, but don't be afraid to try processed foods, you know? Because here's another thing about protein as a vegan. Beans, lentils, legumes, they generally have, for 7 grams of protein, 7 grams of fiber. When the fiber rate goes up, that decreases the rate of bioavailability, the ability of your body to digest, to absorb amino acids. So I would say, as a vegan, you should not just eat. And even if you're not going to be a heavy training vegan, it's good for us to overeat protein a little bit because we're going to lose some of that bioavailability to fiber. And, you know, especially if you're getting older, you feel like your body composition is changing. I mean, your muscles are made of amino acids. So, I mean, I quote Dr. Campbell in this book, Dr. Bernard. They've admitted eating high rates of plant protein does not affect your kidneys. There's no negative effects that they've studied, but eating high rates of animal-based protein is probably one of the leading causes of all the health problems we have in the American system right now. So, experiment with eating a higher amount of protein, even if you're not training heavy. I think it's mostly going to be good for you. And hey, if your body doesn't agree with it, don't do it anymore. But the boogeyman of eating high protein is bad for you, eating high fat is bad for you. I think it's all conditional to the kind of lifestyle that kind of goes with it.